Okay, so last but not least, we want to get this page online and actually use it in a campaign, right? So I'm not going to go over the links and so on that you'd use in your lander. Like for whatever tracking system you're going to use, you're probably going to have to put tracking system URLs and potentially JavaScript and so on inside your page. I won't really go over that because that's more relevant to the tracker-related videos. But we want to get these landers up on our website, on our server, and we want to do some basic tests to make sure that they work. Always test your landers and make sure that they actually work before you send money or traffic toward them. So what I'm going to do is fire up FileZilla. I'm going to connect my lander by FTP, not as root. I want to upload landers, not edit config files. I'm going to open the CDN, and I'm going to delete all of this junk that I don't want. When you're using FTP, it can be quite slow to do various things because every operation kind of is a single event. It has to say delete this file, delete this file, delete this file. It's not like browsing on your computer and just deleting all in one go. So it does pay to have a server that's close to you if possible. It makes these things a lot faster. Okay, what I'm going to do is I can close that actually, go to my landers here. I'll keep one of them in ones, but I don't need most of them. I can delete this chunk. The scripts here. One thing I didn't mention is you can probably replace things like jQuery with your own CDNs and so on. To do this, what I would do is go to cdnjs.com, I think. Yes. And you can just find links to replace things with. So if I go and open LP1 and move this over here, and I want to say replace, I've removed all the JavaScript, haven't I? Say I wanted to replace the jQuery that they had in here. I could just search for jQuery, find if it is normal jQuery, click that, and here's the different versions. Say they're using version 3. Try to use the one that they're using, because if you use ones that are previous in future versions, sometimes it can cause issues. And here we go. So for that, I'm going to use the minified one, so I probably want to use that one there, jQuery.min.js. You don't want the non-minified ones in these cases, so I'll copy that, and let's say I put it near the end here. That's just the URL, so I'm going to need to put script there. So Sublime Text has nice autocomplete for that. You start writing script, and if you just hit enter, it's going to fill that out. And what I need to do is put a source parameter in there, src equals, and paste that in there. All good. One thing I would suggest is that you don't use HTTPS, and well, okay, let me rephrase. If you're using a lander which is secure, so your landing page is loading via HTTPS, you do not want to load HTTP unsecure content because you will get mixed content warning messages in your browser. That is not ideal. It looks like we almost have one here. We do. We have this right here. This connection is not secure. Parts of this page are not secure, such as images. So if I load up the console and I clear this, I turn off CSS messages and I refresh, we can see here that there's an imgur image which is non-secure. I don't even know where that's even coming from. Maybe it's, who knows? Oh, it's a Reddit image. It's that one there. That is the single thing loading by HTTP, and that's causing a mixed content security message here, which can be off-putting to users, so don't do that. If you're using a page on HTTP, it's fine to load HTTPS. There's no problem with loading secure content on an insecure page, but there is problems with loading insecure content on a secure page. If you want to avoid those issues, what you can do is use a relative protocol by not declaring it like so. If you use this, it'll request this using HTTP or HTTPS, depending on the actual URL that you're visiting. The one caveat there is that this will not work if you're browsing the file locally. So if I save this and I load LP1 and I open up the console and I refresh, let's look at the page source there. See this here? that's not going to actually load because my protocol is actually file, and so it'll try and load file / jQuery blah 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 blah, and it doesn't work. So in that case, it's kind of annoying, but yeah, you have been warned. In any case, it's probably best to use HTTPS by default to prevent these issues. Okay, getting rid of that. Okay, what do I need? Close that. Okay, so I want to upload this to my server, right? So I'm going to get into this here, which is exactly what I wanted. I would probably make a new directory called cats. So when it comes to organizing your landing pages and your campaigns and so on, for God's sakes, be organized. Don't have this directory where you have, something like this going on in that directory. Do not do that. You're going to have like CSS and stuff all in the same folders, images overlapping. It's going to be terrible. So be a tidy person. So I tend to make a folder for different campaigns. I might actually give these sort of little code names rather than just calling it something really obvious like iPhone sweepstakes or something like that. So I'm going to throw it in here, throw these in here, and then all other campaigns and so on would use other landers. This way you avoid conflicts with these CSS, image, and script folders and so on. Anyway, once that is uploaded, we can directly load it through our browser, through cats, and then LP1. If we load that folder directly, it's going to do nothing. We can't browse it directly, that is forbidden, but we can load lp1.html. There we go, there's my cool page. So he's all online. What I would now do is test that the other ones work as well. LP2. Hilarious. So that's all working, right? And it probably works on the no CDN version as well. Yep, all works fine. So what we're going to do now is do some page performance testing. First of all, I'm going to open my console and refresh this and check that there's no obvious errors, like there's no 404s, there's nothing problematic. With the CSS, you're going to get lots of different warnings due to compatibility and so on. Don't even worry, like completely turn CSS off. You don't need it, but I would turn on everything else. Refresh, all looks good, right? What we're now going to do is do some page performance testing with Pingdom, which you saw before, and I will also recommend using GT metrics. So I'm going to open up both of those, take this link. It'll be funny if anyone sees that URL and opens this. That's their problem to deal with. I'm going to test it from where? You can test it from lots of places, but let's look at how the CDN operates and confirm that it operates the way we think. So let's do Dallas, go. I'm going to open up a few of these to test from a few places. Let's do Melbourne. Let's also do New York. Oops. And Stockholm. So I'm trying to spam this feed to coax people into visiting this page with this interesting looking cat. I'm going to put it in here as well. And away we go. So 900 milliseconds, 1.3, 1.1, 1.25. So it's all relatively similar, right? We have various warnings here. Serve static content from a cookie-less domain. So it's telling us that all of these are coming from a domain that doesn't set cookies. So that's going through the CDN, right? So that's kind of probably why in this case, but I would not worry too much about this at this point in time. You can go to more at Google Developers to learn about Google's page speed recommendations. This is actually a great resource if you want to learn about how to actually speed up your pages. There is a lot of information here, things like gzip, caching, headers, and so on. And with Nginx, you can also install Google PageSpeed as a plugin. With the current Nginx we're using, I'm not sure if it's installed. Usually you'll install it when you're compiling the actual software and so on. But there's quite a lot of interesting stuff in here. Okay, if we go down, we have query strings from static resources. This is indeed true. Having these here is kind of silly. We don't want those at all. It can be annoying for caching because this site global, for example, might get treated differently on every single page. So I would probably remove those out of habit as well. Everything else is fine. If we scroll down here, we can see a breakdown of all the content. And what we really care about is this waterfall, right? It took about 500 milliseconds to resolve the actual domain, the DNS resolution. about 1 millisecond to connect, and then took about 380 to actually wait and get a response from our actual system, right? The receive then took 1 millisecond. It was very, very fast. So looking at this, I would say the majority of the load is coming from the actual wait time, with the CDN pulling that content from our origin and passing it through to the test server. Most of that wait is going to completely disappear when we try and load again because of the actual caching. If this was direct to our server, chances are the wait is going to be less because there's going to be less actual transactional kind of stuff happening in the middle. If we go to these other ones, what do we see? Same kind of deal. It's all the same, right? It's all very similar from all of these locations, and the consistency is quite nice. If we do from no CDN, we get a few different errors, but don't worry about that. If we go down here, you can see the wait times are much less, and overall the page speed has kind of gone down a little bit, I think. And that's because we're just kind of reducing certain factors. The DNS has gone down quite a lot. It's now taking a lot longer to actually connect to our server because it's much further away than the CDN edge server, which is what we completely expect. Minimizing those connect times is one of the reasons the CDNs are so effective, as well as the actual throughput and the improvements in bandwidth there. So let's run all these tests again and make sure that our page performance is actually going up. I'm going to run it again. Okay, so if we go backwards, 1.18 from Stockholm, we still haven't really cached all of this. Let's do it again. 873, still quite a long wait time. Let's run it again. Okay, so in this case, when it's kind of not speeding up like I would expect it to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open Cloudflare and have a quick check of my settings to make sure I didn't leave anything in a certain state. So I'm going to go to speed, auto minify. I'm going to turn these off for the moment because I don't really need them. Rocket loader, automatic. I'm going to turn that off as well. Go to caching. And I want to do standard. Can I set that to automatic? I'm going to put that to a month. Always online on. Temporary bypass. I don't need to do that at all. I'm going to purge everything. And then just check quickly through all of this to make sure it's the way I think it is. CDN is on. That's what we want. Don't really care too much about this. Firewall is fine. Speed is all fine. Caching is fine. I did add this page rule, and there's the potential that I've got this wrong and it's actually causing issues. We shall see. So I'm going to run all of these again. So this is why I always kind of stress to people that they should test things, because no matter how much experience you have and how many times you've done things, you can always kind of make a mistake and forget, and it can have a financial impact. In this case, it all looks the same yet again. Okay, so I'm going to turn this rule off. Now I'm going to run these again. And what I really wanted to do is actually cache them. Pinged them for good testing in this scenario. It kind of shouldn't cache things, but it probably caches them for a short amount of time so that you can actually look at the caching performance with back-to-back tests. There we go. So it looks like this rule might have actually been the problem. I haven't really thought much about that, so that could be why it was doing that. That could have even been... No, I don't think that was why any of this stuff happened before. Here, what have we got? All of these are now being cached, all of these actual resources. This one here is still taking a while to actually request, so I'll try again. There we go. So the main time now is just that request, right, coming from our server. There we go. And one last time. Okay, so it seems like there's still this wait time in requesting this. I'm not quite sure why it's not caching the HTML page. Usually it would. That might be off by default, I'm not sure. What we could probably do is edit this and just have .html. For example, by using asterisks you can create dynamic patterns. Learn more here. I'm going to open their help for a quick second. see if they have some example rules. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that looks like a solid rule to have, or images, and so on and so on. So I'm going to use something like that. Okay, I've decided what I want to do. I'm going to put asterisk that. Obviously, I don't think that actually matched anyway before because I didn't have that there. Slash site. I'm going to do slash cats star. And then I'm going to say browser cache TTL. No, I want cache level, cache everything. And then I also want to go to, what do I have here? Nope, that's all fine. That's what I want. Browser cache TTL, we can put to 1 month. And save and deploy. Should be fine. There we go, and that's now on. So now what I'm going to do is try and run these again and see if it actually starts caching this. If we look at the actual headers here, you can see it's clearly coming through Cloudflare. Cache control here, look at this, must revalidate. So that is causing this page, an HTML page, to always revalidate against the server and always check to see if the version that is being cached is different or older than the one that is on the server. So it's that revalidate, now that I expand this and look at it, which is causing this wait time. So if the lander isn't going to change, like no chance, you would change the URL of the lander or the file name if you were ever to make any updates, then we kind of want to get these off, right? So I'm going to run this test again and see if that actually has been removed. If not, we can potentially set the header manually by going into here. Is there a header? Always online, edge cache TTL, IP location header, server-side exclude. It's not this one here. It's not what we want. So I'm going to cancel and get rid of that. Let's see. No, try again. Okay, it was that one, right? LP2 from Dallas, go. What I'm going to do while quickly waiting is some research. So I'm going to do Cloudflare validate HTML pages. And we'll go into here and see if there's some way of caching the HTML pages as well. So this might also be set at the Nginx level. I'm not even sure. That's something we'll have to explore. That might be something where Nginx is making HTML pages always revalidate and Cloudflare is kind of honoring that. That is another possibility. I'm not even sure at this moment. I don't care. Let's avoid that for the moment. But what I would usually do is try and cache the HTML as well. For PHP pages, you don't want that at all. But for HTML, you can actually get a massive performance advantage by not revalidating that page, just caching it. So there we go. That was a lot faster. Holy hell. Look at what we're doing now, right? So now that I actually added this rule to cache everything, it seems to be, I think, overriding. 20 milliseconds. If we load this, what do we see? Look, the must revalidate is gone. If I turn this off and I try to do this again. So hopefully you can all see that this kind of research and trundling along by me was worth it, because would you rather have a page loading in 500 milliseconds like this, or would you rather make all of your cat landers be absolutely super feline speed and never revalidate? So here again, you can see this revalidate. Run it again. Boom, look at that. So 18 kilobytes, 18 milliseconds. What is that potential bandwidth? That's a kilobyte a millisecond. I'll let you figure that out. Faster than 100% of tested sites. This is literally faster than any other site on the internet. I mean, look at that cat. He is winning. Okay, now if we do the other ones, we should get similar results. Run all of these. We may need to run them again another time to get them to cache. Here we go. We probably need to do that. No revalidate. So if we do it again, it should be completely cached. Same with that one. Boom. 20 milliseconds. 16, 17, 47. So obviously this is an extreme advantage to actually know how to configure things in that sense. And again, if this is an HTML page that you're not editing, the URLs in it are static, or you're using JavaScript to actually alter the page, which the JavaScript actually happens in the person's browser, so it doesn't, I mean caching isn't a problem for JavaScript because the behavior and the dynamic aspects are from browser-side processing rather than anything server-side, then obviously this is great. So I'm going to take this little trophy of 100% faster than any other sites on the internet and burn it into people's memories, winning. Okay, that's pretty much everything on that side. When we get to GT metrics, it's kind of the same thing, right? We're just testing it with a different platform, which might give us different actual information on things we can do, might give us a slightly different waterfall, and it's just useful to have multiple sources. What happens if Pingdom Tools is down, for example? Now I want to retest this because I'm interested to see if it's 6 million times faster now. I believe you can change the regions and the browser that you're using. I'll check that in a second. It's a little bit slower than Pingdom usually, but it does give you good reports. 600 milliseconds, so obviously this is still not caching. We still have 500 milliseconds there. How do I change the test details? I'm not even sure. I might not be able to unless I have Pro or something like that. What if I open this page? I'm not sure if I can change it myself. Maybe not. Let's try it one more time to see what happens and see if that actually caches. Another thing to remember is that the GT metrics, for example, I mean, it might have certain things which make it treat tests differently, but at the CDN level in terms of caching, these testers can't really make it not cache or anything like that. We look at the waterfall, now we're in the same state, right? 78 milliseconds, way down, doing a lot better, and we've got extremely good scores for everything. So that's all I wanted to go over in terms of getting your Lander online. Once it actually is on the server, if you want to add things like tracking system links, you can actually just edit them directly on the server, and I would kind of recommend this over editing all your Lander sources in your Dropbox or on your computer to have hard-coded tracker links in them, because if those links vary per campaign, then it's kind of annoying, right? So what I would do is just edit them directly off the actual FileZilla here. Right-click, view edit. I tend to discard to be sure that I'm opening something fresh. Align your windows, make a change. So make a change here, for example. Just hit Control S, click over in FileZilla. This will come up, and away you go, and you're done. And that's pretty much all there is to it in terms of getting your Lander online and getting it ready for a campaign. So that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.